Hari. We are reading the fourth chapter of the second canto, 8th verse. First, we'll recite the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaho Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarine Dvanchakalpatarubhyasya कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome to Bhagavad reading session. So let me share this. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Sri Ganesh. You can read the translation in part of 8 days.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful, and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Purport. The act of Supreme Lord in the creation of just this one universe appears inconceivably wonderful. And there are innumerable universes, and all of them aggregated together are known as the created material world. And this part of his creation is only a fraction portion of the complete creation. The material world stands as a part only. Supposing that the material world is display of one part of his energy, the remaining three parts consist of the Vaikuntha Jagat or spiritual world described in Bhagavad Gita as Madhama or Sanatana Dhama or the eternal world. We have marked in the previous verse that he creates and again binds up the creation. This action is applicable only in the material world because the other greater part of his creation, namely the Vaikuntha world, is neither created nor annihilated. Otherwise, the Vaikuntha Dhamma would not have been called eternal. The Lord exists with his Dhamma, or in other words, with his eternal name, qualities, pastimes, entourage, and personality, which are all a display of his different energies and expansion. The Lord is called Annadi, or having no creator, and Adi, or the origin of all. We think in our own imperfect way that Lord is also created, but the Vedanta informs us that he is not created. Rather, everything else is created by him. Therefore, for the common man, these are all very wonderful matters for consideration. Even for great scholars, they are inconceivable, and thus such scholars present theories contradicted to one another. Even for the insignificant part of his creation, this particular universe, they have no complete information as to how far this limited space extends, or how many stars and planets are there, or the different conditions of those innumerable planets. Modern scientists have insufficient knowledge of all this. Some of them assert that there are 100 million planets scattered all over space. In a news release from Moscow dated 2/21/60, the following piece of knowledge was relayed.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Praveen Prabhu, Dhanavas Pranam. Will you be able to read, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Praveen.
Hare Krishna, he is in
hearing
hearing.
Hearing mode today. Yes. Hare Krishna, Saraswati Mataji, you can continue.
Hare Krishna. From Russia's well-known professor. Okay. Russia's well-known professor of astronomy, Boris Vorontsov Veliaminov, said that there must be an infinite number of planets in the universe inhabited by beings endowed with reason. It could be that life similar to that on Earth flourishes on such planets. Doctor of Chemistry Nikolai Zirov, covering the problem of atmosphere on other planets, pointed out that the organism of a Martian, for instance, could very well adapt itself to normal existence with a low body temperature. He said that he felt that the gaseous composition of Martian atmosphere was quite suitable to sustain life of beings which have become adapted to it. This adaptability of an organism to different varieties of planets is described in the Brahma Samhita as Vibhuti Binnam. That is, each and every one of the innumerable planets within the universe is endowed with a particular type of atmosphere, and the living beings there are more perfectly advanced in science and psychology because of a better atmosphere. Vibhuti means specific powers and Bhinnam means variegated. Scientists who are attempting to explore outer space and are trying to reach other planets by mechanical arrangements must know for certain that organisms adapted to the atmosphere of Earth cannot exist in the atmospheres of other planets. Easy journey to other planets. One has to prepare himself, therefore, to be transferred to a different planet after being relieved of the present body, as it is set in the Bhagavad Gita 9.25. Yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitra vrata bhutani yanti bhuteya yanti matya jinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Hare Krishna.
I'm sure you can read that.
Maharaj Parikshit statement.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit's statement regarding the workings of the creative energy of the Lord discloses that he knew everything of the process of creation. Why then did he ask Sukadeva Goswami for such information? Maharaj Parikshit, being a great emperor, a descendant of the Pandavas, and a great devotee of Lord Sri Krishna, was quite able to know considerably about the creation of the world. But that much knowledge was not sufficient. He said, therefore, even greatly learned scholars fail to know about that, even after great effort. The Lord is unlimited and his activities are also unfathomed. With a little source of knowledge and with imperfect senses, any living being up to the standard of Brahmaji, the highest perfect living being within the universe, can never imagine knowing about the unlimited. We can know something of the unlimited when it is explained by the unlimited, as has been done by the Lord himself in the unique statements of the Bhagavad Gita. And it can also be known to some extent from realized souls like Sukadeva Goswami, who learned it from Vyasadeva, a disciple of Narada, and thus the perfect knowledge can descend by chain of disciplic succession only, and not by any form of experimental knowledge, old or modern. Hare Krishna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. X10. Hare Krishna Sagar, you can read.
Hare Krishna. Text 10. Not visible.
Is it okay?
Translation. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literature and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord, and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the supreme absolute truth, Govinda, the personality of Godhead, all the one without a second, is infallibly expanded by innumerable forms, non-different from one another. And although he is the original person, he is still ever young and permanent youthful energy. It is very difficult to know simply by learning the transcendental science of the Vedas, but he is very easily realized by his pure devotees. The expansions of different forms of Lord, as from Krishna to Baladeva to Sankarsana, from Sankarsana to Vasudeva, from Vasudeva to Aniruddha, from Aniruddha to Pradyumna, and then again to the second Sankarsana, and from him to the Narayana, Purusavataras, and innumerable other forms, which are compared to the constant flowing of unaccountable layers of river. All are all one and the same. They are like lamps of equal power, which kindle with from one lamp to another. That is the transcendental potency of the Lord. The Vedas say that he is so complete that even though the whole complete identity emanates from him, he still remains the same complete whole. Purnasya Purnam Adya Purnam Evava Sasyate. As such, there is no validity in a material conception of Lord produced by mental speculator. Thus, he remains always a mystery for the mundane scholar, even if he is vastly learned in the Vedic literature. Vedesu Durlabham
Durlabham Atma Bhakti.
Atma Bhakta. Therefore, the Lord is beyond the limit of conception for mundane learned scholars, philosophers, and scientists. He is understandable easily for the pure devotee because the Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54 that after surpassing the stage of knowledge, when one is able to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, then only can one know the true nature of the Lord. One cannot have any clear conception of the Lord or his holy name, form, attributes, person, etc., unless one is engaged in his transcendental loving service. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita that one must first of all surrender all to the Lord, being freed from all other engagements, means that one must become a pure, unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then can one know him by strength of devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Jagannath.
Hare Krishna. Maharaja Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why then should he again requested Sukadeva Goswami to clarify his sufficient knowledge about the Lord? The reason is clear. Not only was Sukadeva Goswami vastly learned in the Vedic literature, but he was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord is by grace of the Lord more than the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, Sri Ramchandra attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka. But Sri Hanumanji, the unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, could cross the ocean simply by jumping over it. The Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotees more powerful than himself. The Lord expressed himself to be unable to save Durvasa Muni, although the Muni was so powerful that he could reach the Lord directly under the material conditions. But Durvasa Muni was saved by Maharaja Ambarisha, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, not only a devotee of the Lord, more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of Lord. Mad Bhakta Pujya Bhayukta. The
Yes,
condition. Hare Krishna.
continue.
Continue.
Yes.
Shall I continue?
Yes, please continue.
The conclusion is therefore that a serious devotee must first approach the spiritual master who not only is well versed in the Vedic literature, but is also a great devotee with fractional realization of Lord and his different energies. Without the help of such a devotee, principal master, spiritual master, one cannot make progress in the transcendental science of the Lord. And the bona fide spiritual master like Sukdev Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potentials, but also explains how he associates with his external potentials. The
Correct.
Lord
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Sri Ganesh Babu.
Hare Krishna. The Lord's pastime, the Lord's pastime in the internal potency are displayed in his activities in Vrindavana, but the working of his external potency are directed in his features of
Anadakshay.
Karna,
Anaya Vasi, right?
Vasya Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Srila Viswanatha Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnavas when he says that they should not be interested in hearing only about the Lord activities like Rasalila, but must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of the Purusa, Purusavataras, Purusavataras in connection with the Srishti Tattva. Creational functions following the examples of Maharaj Parikshita, the ideal disciple, and Sukadeva Goswami, the ideal spiritual master.
You can continue.
Translation. When Sukadeva Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. Purport. The devotee of Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows the such senses belonging to the Supreme Lord, and they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments and elements are integrants, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. The Bhagavad Gita 15.15 confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matha smritir jananam apoham cha. No one is free to act freely and independently. And as such, one should always seek the permission of Lord to act or eat or speak. And by the blessing of the Lord, everything done by devotee is beyond the principles of four defects typically of the condition. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Saraswati, text number 12. Hare Krishna, Saraswati.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Sukadeva Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete who whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable." Purport. This material world is a manifestation of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into every body materially created. As Garbhodakshay Vishnu, he enters into every universe. And as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, he enters the body of every living being. Lord Sri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed here as Parah Puman or Purushottama. As described in the Bhagavad Gita 15.18, he is the complete whole. The Purushavasaras are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him, because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive of the personality of the Godhead. He is called as the Anupalakshya Vartamani, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vishnu, first paragraph. That is.
Translation.
Translation. Hare Krishna. I again offer my respectful obeisances unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distress and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna is the complete form of all existence, both material and spiritual. Akhila means complete, or that which is not khila, inferior. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of nature: Prakriti, namely the material nature, and the spiritual nature, or the external and the interior potencies of the Lord. The material nature is called apara, or inferior, and the spiritual nature is called superior or transcendental. Therefore, the form of the Lord is not of the inferior material nature. He is complete transcendence and he is murti, or having transcendental form. The less intelligent men who are unaware of his transcendental form describe him as impersonal Brahman. But Brahman is simply the rays of his transcendental body, Yasya Prabha. The devotees who are aware of his transcendental form render him service. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotees from all distress. The pious men who follow the rulings of the Vedas are also dear to him, and therefore the pious men of this world are also protected by him. The impious and the non-devotees are against the principles of the Vedas, and so such persons are always hampered from making advances in their nefarious activities. Some of them who are specifically favored by the Lord are killed by him personally, as in the case of Ravana, Hiranyakasipu, and Kamsa, and thus such demons get salvation and are thereby checked from further progress in their demoniac activities. Just like a kind father, either in his favor upon the devotees or his punishment of the demons, he is ever kind to everyone because he is the complete existence for all individual existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sagar, you can read. Hare Krishna, Sagar.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I request Swapna Mataji to read one page, please.
Okay, okay. I didn't see. Sorry, Mataji, please continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Paramahamsa stage of existence is the highest perfectional stage of spiritual values. According to the Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord is factually understood by the Paramahamsas only, as there is gradual realization of the transcendence form, impersonal Brahman, to localized Paramatma to the personality of Godhead, Purushottama, Lord Krishna. Similarly, there is gradual proportion of one situation in the spiritual life of sannyasa, kutyaka, Buhudaka, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa are gradually progressive stages in the renounced order of life. Sannyasa and Sannyasa, life sannyasa, and Queen Kunti Devi, the mother of Pandavas, has spoken about them in her prayers of the Lord Krishna, Canto 1, Chapter 8. The Paramahamsas are generally found among both the impersonalists and the devotees, but according to Srimad Bhagavatam, as stated by Kunti Devi, pure Bhakti Yoga is understood by the Paramahamsas, and the Kunti Devi has especially mentioned that the Lord descends Paritranaya Sadhunam, especially toward Bhakti Yoga to the Paramahamsas. So ultimately, the Paramahamsas, in the true sense of the term, are alloyed devotees of the Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has directly accepted that the highest destination is Bhakti Yoga, by which one accepts the transcendental loving service of the God, of the Lord. Those who accept the path of Bhakti Yoga are factual Paramahamsas. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Continue.
Shall I, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Since the Lord is very kind to everyone, the impersonalists who accept bhakti as a means of merging in the existence of the Lord in his impersonal Brahmajyoti are also awarded their desired destination. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, he has assured everyone, Ye yatamam prapadyante. According to the Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti, there are two classes of Paramahamsas, namely the Brahmanandis, impersonalists, and Premanandis, devotees. And both are awarded their desired destinations, although the Premanandis are more fortunate than the Brahmanandis. But both the Brahmanandis and the Premanandis are transcendentalists, and they have nothing to do with the inferior material nature full of existential miseries of life.
Hare Krishna, Sadhguru, you can read the quoting.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto him who is the associate of the members of Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds. Yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Purport. There are two sides of transcendental manifestation of Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. For the pure devotees, he is the constant companion, as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of Yadu dynasty, or his becoming the friend of Arjuna, or his becoming the associate neighbor of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, as the son of Nanda Yasoda, the friend of Sudama, Sridama, and Madhamangala, or the lover of the damsels of Rajabhumi, etc. That is part of his personal feature. And by his impersonal feature, he expands the rays of the Brahmajyoti, which is limitless and all-pervasive. Part of this all-pervasive Brahmajyoti, which is compared to the sun rays, is covered by the darkness of the Mahat Tattva. And this insignificant part is known as the material world. Universes like the one we can experience, and in each of them there are hundreds of thousands of planets like the one we are inhabiting. The mundaners are more or less captivated by unlimited expansion of the rays of the Lord, but the devotees are concerned with more with his personal form, from which everything is emanating. Janmadi asya yataha. As the sun rays are concerned in the sun disk, the Brahmajyoti is concentrated in Golak Vrindavan, the topmost spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. The immeasurable spiritual sky is full of spiritual planets named Vaikunthas for beyond the material sky, far beyond material. The mundaners have insufficient information of even the mundane sky. So what they can think of the spiritual sky. Therefore, the mundaners are always far, far away from him. Even if in the future they are able to manufacture some machine
Hare Hare Krishna, Jagannath, you can read from the Indus scripture.
Hare Krishna. Therefore, the mundanes are always far,
maybe
far away from him. Even in the future, they are able to manufacture some machine whose speed may be accelerated to the velocity of the wind or mind. The mundaners will still unable to imagine reaching the planets in the spiritual sky. So the Lord and his presidential abode will always be remain a myth or a mysterious problem. But for the devotees of the devotees, the Lord will always be available as an associate. In the spiritual sky, his opulence is immeasurable. The Lord resides in all the spiritual planets, the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, by expanding his plenary proportions along with his liberated devotees associate. But the impersonalities who want to merge in the existence of the Lord are allowed to merge as one of the spiritual sparks of the Brahma Jyoti. They have no qualifications for becoming associate of the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planets or in the supreme planet, Goloka Vrindavana, described in the Bhagavad Gita as Madharma, and there in the verse as the Sarvadharma of the Lord. The Madharma of Sarvadharma is described in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6 as follows.
तद्भाष्यते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा निर्विवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम.
The Lord Sarvadharma does not requires any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination. The dharma of a place is supreme, and whoever goes there never come back to his material world. The Vaikuntha planets and the Goloka Vrindavana planet are all self-illuminating, and rays of scattered by those Sarvadharma of the Lord constitute the existence of the Brahmajyoti, as the further confirmed in the Vedas like the Mundaka 2.210, Katha 2.215, and Sweta Savatsara Upanishad 6.14.
न तत्र सूर्यभाति न चन्द्रसत्तारकं नेम विद्युतो भान्ति भूयोऽयम् अग्निः तम् एव भान्तम् अनुभूति सर्वं तस्य भाषा सर्वम् इदं विभूति.
In the Sarvadharma of the Lord, there is no need of sun, moon, or stars for illumination, nor is there need of electricity. So what to speak of lighted lamps? On the other hand, it is because those planets are self-illuminating that all the effulgence has become possible, and whatever there is the dazzling is due to reflection of the Sarvadharma.
Hare Krishna. Sri Ganesh, you can complete the line.
Hare Krishna. One who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti cannot know the personal transcendence. Therefore, in the Isopanishad, it is prayed that the Lord shifts his dazzling effulgence so that the devotee can see the real reality. And it is spoken thus: O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service or Bhakti Yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in the service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please, therefore, remove the veil of your Brahma Jyoti rays so that I can see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Hare Krishna. Swapna Mataji, please forgive me. I did not notice you. Hare Krishna. Praveen Prabhu, Dhanavad Prana. Thank you so much. Jaran Prabhu, Dhanavad Prana. Saraswati Mataji, Abhishek Prabhu, Dhanavad Prana. Sri Ganesh Prabhu, Dhanavad Prana. Sagar Prabhu, Dhanavad. Thank you so much. Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavruddha ki jai. Transcendental Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Prabhuji, I was just being ready so that if you call, I can unmute. That's it.
I did not notice you. Please excuse me.